It's Jamie Anderson, and in this lesson I'm going to talk about the different places where you can buy instruments and the pros and cons of each. This lovely ukulele is available at the folk shop in Tucson, Arizona, where I'm sitting right now. I mean, look at this, a room full of ukuleles, and no worries for you people who play guitar, mandolin, and other instruments, because I'm going to talk about those too. In fact, what I'm talking about in this video will also apply to you. Here are the different places where you can buy an instrument. You can buy one online, you can buy one from an individual, you can buy one from a brick and mortar store that's an independent, like the folk shop here in Tucson is, or you can buy from a brick and mortar store that's a chain. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of each. So, if you buy online, they have a great inventory. Like, they have warehouses full of instruments. So that's a good thing. And also they've got, ordering down to a science, so usually it's very efficient. The disadvantages of buying from a place like that is that often you're dealing with somebody who knows nothing about the instruments they're selling. You may be dealing with a rock drummer if you're buying an ukulele, and how effective would that be? Not very. Also, returning merchandise is kind of a pain. Now, hopefully you won't have to do that, but you do have to box it up and pay for the shipping and then deal with them when they get it on their end, and that can be, that can be kind of tough. Another choice is to buy from an individual. So go to Craigslist, Kijiji, Facebook, wherever you buy things, and check out what they've got. Now, that can be a good thing because there's all kinds of stuff that people put up for sale, and you can go to their place and try out the instrument, which is great. That's what I prefer, because with an online retailer, you can't play it before you buy it, right? It's like buying a car that you don't drive first. And if I was going to buy an instrument, I'd want to play this lovely Martin first, right? Oh, that is a sweet guitar. Also, when you buy from an individual, sometimes you can negotiate the price. So do a little research before you get there and find out what that particular brand and model are going for, and then you can negotiate with them when you get there. So you could say, I know you're asking $1,000 for this, but I did a Google search and most people are charging $500. And so maybe they'll come down to $500, or maybe they'll just be obstinate, and that's a disadvantage really. And that is that sometimes people will think, well, I paid $1,000 for it 5 years ago when I bought it for Junior to take lessons, it should still be worth $1,000. Well, no. Most instruments devalue the minute you take them away. They're like cars, right? As soon as you drive a car off the lot, it goes down in value. Now, that's not true for vintage instruments. I know nothing about vintage instruments, so if you want to talk about pre-war Martins, I am not the person to go to. There are other videos for that. Another choice is to buy from brick and mortar stores, and there are two different kinds. There are independent music stores and there are chain music stores. I'm going to talk about chain music stores first and then talk about the indies because I'm saving the best for last. A chain music store is great. They've got everything down to a science, they've got lots of selection, but like dealing with an online retailer, you may be dealing with the rock drummer if you're buying a banjo. What does a rock drummer know about banjos? Nothing. And sometimes you get like a high school kid who is so anxious to earn his commission that he follows you around the store. Nobody wants to be dogged when they're in a store, unless you actually need the help and you ask for it. So if I was playing this lovely Martin, and that drummer was standing right in front of me going, oh yeah, buy that guitar, I'd be like, get away from me. And I think this is a good place to mention that if you're a beginner, or even if you've been playing for a while and you only know a few chords, it's probably a good idea to take somebody who knows more about playing than you do. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who plays that exact instrument, but they can help you evaluate it. Another good thing about a brick and mortar store is that they also often offer repairs and adjustments, and that's always a good thing. You're right there in the store with the instrument, and if you need a setup, then you can take it to them. A setup is where you adjust how high the strings are off the neck. Sometimes it means that the bridge and the nut need to be adjusted. Sometimes it's a very minor thing. So this is the bridge, and this is the nut, and then of course you've got the strings. If you have to return an instrument, Hopefully you won't, but if you do, it's pretty easy. You just pack it up, take it to the store. You have to be careful about that because if it's something that you did to the instrument, they're going to be like, sorry, you bought it. Sometimes they'll buy it back with a discount. You just don't know. Still, it's easier than dealing with an online retailer where you have to pack it up and pay for shipping and do all that, or an individual. Because when you buy from an individual, all sales are final. You don't like the guitar a month later? Too bad. And the other place where you can buy an instrument, and this is my favorite, is an independent music store. And there's a lot of reasons that I like them. Because you can develop a relationship with an independent music store. You can visit them, they get to know you, they get to know what kind of instruments you like, what you play. You can come into a music store that knows you, and the clerk may say, you know, we just got in this really sweet ukulele. You want to play it? And I'll be like, sure, I'll always play it. I don't always buy it, but at least they know what I like. Now that is how I ended up with a new guitar. I came into this store, into the folk shop here in Tucson, and they said, we just got in this new Larrivee. Do you want to try it? And I said innocently, what's a Larrivee? Because I don't know if you could buy a Larrivee in Tucson at that point, but somebody brought it in for consignment. That's another advantage to brick and mortar stores, is that if you have an instrument to sign, you can take it in and they will sell it for you. And they just take a small percentage, which is very cool. Now, I played that Larrivee and I said, oh my gosh, that's mine. And I walked away with a really sweet guitar. And as you can hear in the background here, this is a working music store and you can get adjustments done here. So if you buy an instrument and you need a setup for it, they can do it right here. They can also do repair work. A friend of mine just had her guitar repaired here. And before she even got home, there was a voicemail waiting for her saying, your guitar's done.
Hi, yes, I'm Wally. And right now this is a guitar we bought. We're getting it ready for sale. And that is one of the differences in a mom and pop shop, brick and mortar shop, is that if we put it out on the floor, at least our shop, the folk shop, we go over everything. We do a setup that you might pay $50 for somewhere else. And matter of fact, we have things coming from the big box stores that then we have to charge $50 for. So we do all that.
Really?
This particular one had a crack repair, so it did the crack repair. And now getting the action set up just right, and then we'll restring it, we'll test it to see if it's right. If not, we'll tweak it a little bit.
That's what you want, you know, because the chain stores, they just they get it from UPS and they hang it on the wall and then they're done. Yeah. You're lucky if they even tune it. So, you know, at a store like this, you do all that work and you evaluate instruments that people bring in, right? So if I, you know, inherited something from Aunt Betsy, you could look at it and go, yeah.
We do that, and we'll give you a real quick, yeah, this is worth doing, or this is about worth that much. We can do a longer, in-depth one, too. We love that, and we love bringing instruments back to be at least the best they can be, and sometimes great, and sometimes one step away from the dumpster, but that's better than the dumpster, and everything in between.
And I bet you give out a lot of advice, like, please don't store your guitar in an attic.
Yes, or go out shopping and leaving your car in Tucson.
That's the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had people. One guy, that same day he had bought a guitar somewhere and then went shopping and it had a 12-inch crack in it, brand new.
Oh.
So we give all kinds of advice out.
Oh.
And, we're pretty generous, I like to think.
Yeah, so what happens when you leave an instrument in a hot car?
In a hot car, and happens more often than you think. First, it dries out and is likely to crack. That's the big thing. Or a bridge can pop off. You'd be surprised how quickly that can happen.
Yeah, well, pretty much the glue just lets go, right?
And glue lets go too.
Yeah.
Any of those things, you know, sometimes you only see one thing that went, the rest happens later. So
yeah.
When I go into a coffee house and I have a guitar with me, I just look really cool and I walk in with my guitar or my ukulele.
Look at this, a wall of guitars. Oh, it's a candy store. I need sugar. So I'm going to walk you through this wonderful independent music store. You can look at all the different kinds of instruments they have. There's some percussion type things here, also known as drums, and lots and lots of guitars. And there's space to sit down and play guitars and other instruments, which I love. There's an amp here, so if you buy an instrument or are thinking of buying an instrument that has a pickup, You've got a place to plug it in. And look at this. Banjo heaven. Oh, another dangerous place for me. Now, I don't teach banjo, but I do play one. And this room is so much fun. There's also some, cool other instruments here. This is a really big guitar. Bass guitar, and there is I don't know what that is on the end. It's a bouzouki maybe? I don't know, but I have a lot of fun coming in here and just dinking around on the instruments, and a good music store will let you do that. They'll let you browse, they'll let you play. It's really, really cool. And so here's an oud, in case you want to know what those are. I almost bought an oud one time, but I don't really know how to play one. And some ukuleles here on the wall. And look at this. A room of ukuleles. Yay. This is another fun room for me to hang out in. And if you're thinking of buying an ukulele, go to your local indie music store and play what they've got. It's just an amazing experience. And maybe you'll walk away with one of these really great instruments. Here's some violins. I don't play anything with a bow, so I don't go into this section. And here are some wonderful mandolins. I picked out one the other day, and oh, it was so hard to walk out without it. And I'm in here before the store officially opens, but usually there's a very friendly worker behind the case who can help you find whatever you need. Look at all those strings. Whew, boy. So there you go. There are the different places that you can buy a guitar or a mandolin or an ukulele. You can buy one online, you can buy one from a brick and mortar store, either independent or a chain. You can also buy from an individual. Please check out jamieanderson.com if you want to find out more about my original music, and check out my other lessons here. I have over 300 lessons for guitar, ukulele, and mandolin. If you want to support what I do, please buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com, and I'll put the link somewhere in here. You can also, for a small subscription fee, get benefits if you support me on Patreon. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it.